From Field Pass Hockey Southern Command, this is the Inside the SPHL podcast. Here is your host, James Hayes.
Welcome to this week's episode of Inside the SPHL. We have a hell of a season going on to start off. The standings are a lot closer than normal. We'll get into that a little bit later on, but I hope you guys are as excited about this season as I have been so far. There's been some really good games, tight games. Nobody's really blowing anybody out. Nobody's going 12-0 to start the season, and nobody's going 0-12 to start the season. So, hey, it's already off to a better start than last year. But first, as always, the only reason you guys ever listen to this podcast, I have a guest for you. And today's guest, he's been around for a little while in the game. He's a Newmarket, Ontario native. He's in his 12th professional season. Throughout his career, he has been an SPHL champion with the Pensacola Ice Flyers. He has been an ECHL player of the week with the Evansville Icemen. He has been an FPHL champion with the Watertown Wolves. He put up 117 points last year with the Watertown Wolves, and then decided he was going to come and play with his old buddy and former coach Clark with the Knoxville Ice Bears. So if you haven't figured it out, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Justin MacDonald. Justin, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. No complaints on my side. I mean, well, I could complain all day long. It's freaking November, and it's like 100 degrees outside in Alabama, but
I know, and I feel like I've already played 50 games, so I can complain too.
Right, yeah. It's because you're getting old, man, and finally age is going to show. Is that what it is? No,
I hear it from everybody, and I keep saying I'm not getting old, but every day, the days are telling me, "Hey, buddy, you're getting old."
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, watching you play so far this year, it doesn't seem like it. I mean, you're scoring goals, you're doing your thing. So I don't know. Maybe just recovery is a little slower. Is that what you're saying?
Recovery and warming up, it takes me the full practice to get warm, and then I realize, oh, we're done already.
Oh, that's awesome. So you decided we'll jump into this season. So you decided to come and play with your coach from last year and former teammate. Was it an easy decision for you? I mean, was it a no-brainer, or was it something you were thinking staying in Watertown?
I was basically gonna go, like you said, I played with Clarky 10 years ago, 11 years ago, something like that. And, I'm at the stage of my life where, I know what he brings to the table, and he knows what I can bring to the table. So I like his coaching style. He's been a successful coach, and basically, wherever he goes, I'm going to go. So when he got the job and he asked me, hey, instead of going back to Watertown, do you want to come to Knoxville? And it was a no-brainer. I said, yes, absolutely, right on the spot. And so far, I'm glad I made that decision because, we're starting off, wepretty well. I mean, we always have room to improve, but I mean, that's just any team, right? So, we'll keep improving, and so will other teams, and we'll just keep adjusting just like other teams, right? But we'll try and stay ahead of everyone and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, you guys put on Christian Stead put on a goaltending clinic in Birmingham a couple weekends ago. I mean, what was that like being on the ice? That was incredible. It
was, and I took a 4-minute penalty, so that didn't help the situation at all. But, they had like a 4-minute 5-on-3. And this, when you hear that against your team, you're like, oh, geez, they're going to get one easily, maybe two. Yeah. And, he just stopped everything. And it was like, well, I mean, you hate to, leave it up to him. But I mean, hey, if he's hot, I mean, hey, we got to make sure we're backing him up on the other side, right, and score goals, right? If he's going to stop 60 shots, we need to make sure that we win this game and put pucks in the net at the other end. So, his effort wasn't waste. Right.
Yeah.
So, it was incredible. I didn't even realize it at the time. But they just had so many chances to score and rebounds, and it just kept racking up. And every time we're looking up, like, oh my God. And, Clark would be like, hey boys, it's at 30 shots now, and we're halfway down the game. What's going on? And we're just like, it's one of those games. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, I was on Knoxville side and not Birmingham's, because they did everything they could, really. Right. You can't say shoot the puck more than 60 times.
No, that's right. Exactly. I think that might have been one of the first times I've ever been at a hockey game and didn't hear shoot the puck.
Yeah, they're like,
I mean?
okay, pass it. I don't know.
yeah. Or I heard somebody I think it was this last weekend. Somebody's like, they're just getting too fancy with it, and I'm like, last week you said shoot it. Now
shoot it. Make up your mind.
Yeah, but no, it's all in good fun. I mean, and without it, what would we have, right?
Exactly, right. Exactly. But you can't bank on your goalie doing that every game. So he's been playing great, and same with Jimmy, our other goalie. So we're happy with we have two strong goalies with us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, off to a good start, like you said. I mean, there's as I said in the intro, there's no teams that are running like Huntsville went, 12-0, I think, or 11-0 to start the season last year. That's not happening with anybody this year.
It's not, right. And, you see some teams and, they have their ways of, if they're lose 1 or 2 games, they're going to start, we got to look at trading 4, 5, 6 guys. But it's like, guys, it's, we've been 3 weeks into the season,
right?
5, 6, 7 games. Like, don't press the panic button now.
Yeah,
right.
56 games.
56 games. It's gonna happen. I mean, now if you're halfway through the season, all right, now you got to start. But I mean, let the guys. Some guys are still new, like don't even know players' first names. Like let them get to know one another and see how it works out for the first 6 weeks, and then you can start adjusting if you need to. But I mean, teams all have their own way of doing things. So I know Brent doesn't do that. So I'm glad with that, because it's hard to adjust to new players when you have new players coming in every day. It's like, well, right. I just played with Billy the other day. Now I'm with Sean, right? Like. So
yeah, they're not even around long enough for you to get to know, really.
Exactly. I make up names for them, and they're gone the next day. So
yeah. Well, they finally get a name after they've played 4 games, right? Is that
that's when they get their real name? Yeah, you guys got to play 4 games, you get a real name.
There you go. That's perfect. So let's jump back a little bit to. Whenever you first, let me go further back. I mean, almost half the league, if not better, is Canadian. So the question's always the same. Were you born with skates on your feet? Did you start playing hockey when you started walking? I mean, is that how life went for you?
That's how life went. I remember my dad always tried to build a rink in the backyard. He was very unsuccessful in that way. So I didn't have that dream necessarily of going on my backyard, but going out on the lake and ponds and stuff like that, absolutely, I remember that. And that's it's now it's more of the outdoor rink, the ODRs you see that people are building up that are 10, 12, like it's like an actual like rink, right? I'm not used to, like, that's incredible, right? And the kids that have it, I'm like, hey, like, that's, you guys have no idea what it's like to skate over waves when you're out on a lake or pond or something. You have no idea, right? But no, I mean, hockey was everything, back then for my dad, and, that's still his main sport that he watches. So, I was born with basically skates on my feet and still going.
Leafs fan?
I mean, if I was to cheer for a team, yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't really, I'll be honest, I don't really watch a lot of sports.
Okay.
I'll be honest. Yeah, I don't watch a lot of sports, but, I do follow them, and they definitely need some assistance. I know they've been hot the past couple games, but I mean, with that much talent up front, I mean, there's no reason you shouldn't be scoring 4, 5, 6 goals a game easily. Right.
I think that's what everybody's saying. I mean, it's and give them some help behind them, right?
Give them some help. I mean, it doesn't help that 3 of their goalies or something like that are injured, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I thought last year that, whether it was Dubas, Keefe, someone was going to get fired. I thought immediately, like, you can't get past the first round, but maybe this is the year. If they don't get past the first round, there's going to be a couple.
Somebody's losing their job. I mean,
someone has to lose their job, right?
Yeah, you're running it back.
The most profitable team, right? I mean, I'm sure financially they don't really care because they are the most profitable team. So they're like, we can keep losing and we'll still sell tickets. But at the same time, I mean, it looks bad, like, on the city, right? So
yeah. And you're going to start losing guys. Austin Matthews isn't going to want to stick around. I mean, Mitch Marner's not going to want to stick around.
No.
All these names are going to be like, all right, I want to go to a franchise that's serious. So
exactly. Right. And you might even need like a Tortorella or someone to go in there and, really Sutter someone to really rip into them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A hard nosed, old school, type of coach. That might be what they need, right? Because they're, cutesy players, which isn't wrong, but when you're not succeeding, yeah, something's wrong, right?
Right. Right.
But,
so perfect. You don't watch a lot of sports, but you got some pretty good analysis, man. I mean, that's pretty on point.
It's 12 years of playing.
Yeah. So at what point did you decide that you were going to try to pursue a pro career? I mean, I know every kid when they're 8, 9 years old thinks they're going to do it, but at what point did it really click in you that I could actually probably turn pro with this?
It was probably my first year of junior. I only played 2 years of junior. I played single A hockey my whole life, and then my last year I played double A, and then I tried out for junior, got cut, and played something called juvenile, which is basically just below junior, I would say. And then when I made junior, and I guess I was more of a late bloomer, and I was like, you know what, I might be able to actually, I love to play and I love to train. It was, I was in school for fitness now, so I loved everything that has to do with it. So I loved going. I remember just changing my high school schedule so I could finish school at noon so I could go play shinny with my buddies, right? Like I remember doing that. Oh, I'll take whatever. What kind of class is that? Like, oh yeah, I'll hem clothes. Yeah, I don't mind, right? Like, I don't care. So yeah, just to get out of school and go play shinny at noon. I remember that, right? So yeah, probably my first year of junior, I was like, you know what, I think I can, if I continue working at it and whatnot, I'll at least be able to play somewhere, right? And we all have dreams of hoisting the Stanley Cup, and right now, in the SP, like that's my Stanley Cup, right? So it doesn't matter where you're at, you always want to win, right? So that's where I'm at, and I'm glad I pursued it because I met a lot of people. I have more stories than I can think of. Not a lot I can say on the air, but I mean that's what I live for. Like I can just go on for stories, and I owe my life to all the people, the coaches, and basically hockey alone, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
That's great. So whenever it was time to go pro, you started out with the Fayetteville Fire Ants. Was that your first pro team?
Yep, that was Fayetteville. That was when I finished junior for the Stouffville Spirit, and at the time it was like the OPJHL, the Ontario Provincial Junior Hockey League, and I had a couple school offers like CIS, but I was already graduated for our fitness and health, and I was like, well, I'm not going to go back to school again. I already have my education. Why not? And I never really thought of, I didn't think it would be enjoyable playing in the same place for full back-to-back years, right? Like, what if you don't like the coach? Like, I didn't understand it really, and I was like, well, I want to go around. I want to travel. Like, I want to see different parts of, whether it's the States or Europe or whatnot, but I wanted to, go to different teams and whatnot. Right. So, I started off in Fayetteville till about Christmas, and then went to Augusta, which is no longer there, and then from Augusta, I went to Mississippi River Kings. Right. So my first year I was on 3 teams, and, and I was, I don't know, 21, something like that. Nice. So it was, I mean, it was kind of like and from there it was like, wow, this is what it's like, right? Like you're riding the bus. I left Christmas Day. I remember my parents didn't believe me. Like we left Christmas Day at like midnight or something to go on a road trip, right? And
Dang.
I didn't think about like that's people don't realize like we lose Christmas and stuff like that to go play, but I mean, you might miss, some family time, but at the same time, I mean, I still wouldn't change it for anything. It sucks, but it is what it is. So, but that was a crazy first year. And, from there, I went to, Watertown. It was close to home. That was the lockout year. And then, and then I went to, Pensacola with Brent Clark and won it there that year. So that was good.
Yeah. So 3 teams you started out with, they don't even exist anymore. I mean, Fayetteville exists, but they're a new name. So
new name. Yeah.
But,
new name.
But I mean, so how did you find out about the SPHL?
Actually, I had first it was kind of Brent who brought me on back home, out of junior. He was like saying, hey, if you want me to help you get somewhere, so we were talking. And then also a guy named Bob McGill. He was played for the Leafs. He was buddies with my dad, and they got me he helped me out getting down to Fayetteville. Like, I had no idea what the SPHL, I didn't know what ECHL, I didn't know what anything was at that age, right? I had no idea, right?
NHL or bust.
Yeah, no idea, right? So he helped me out, head on down there. So when I had the coach called me and they were like, hey, we'd love for you to come down and play for us, I was like, wow, this is incredible. I was so excited. And my dad, I remember driving me down, and that's how I found out about it. So without help from my dad and whatnot, I mean, I'd still be, I don't know, probably in school or not going.
Right. So you had to enjoy it coming down and playing in the South during the winter after spending, all your time up there, snowed on all the time.
Absolutely. I remember golfing and telling him, like, hey, I'm golfing now. And he's like, hey, F you. Come shovel the snow.
That's right.
No, I remember that. I mean, the trade-off is the ice gets pretty, garbage, but it's because it's so humid and warm and all that. But after practice, go out, go hit a bucket of balls, go, I've played a lot in the South, so I've done that quite a bit. And I would like to say my game has improved, but it certainly has not.
No, not all. No. I'm with you, man. I try, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing out there.
No, and there comes a point where it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go out, see the cart girl, get a couple drinks, and I'm just gonna talk to her like I'm Tiger Woods, and wait for her to leave, and then I'll hit my ball. And
that's right. Only close friends can golf with you, because
absolutely. And then after that, they're not my friends anymore. So
that's right. But so let's jump back. You touched on Pensacola. So you went into Pensacola, and that was your second year pro, and that's when you won it all in the SPHL. So, I mean, that's almost instant success, you could say. I mean, not a lot of guys can jump in, second year in and get one. Kind of talk about that season and that team.
That team was incredible. We had Gary Graham was our coach at the time, and he was a great coach. He went from there, I think, right to Fort Wayne, and then he went overseas and whatnot, and now I think he's coaching in England. But he never actually really played hockey. He was like the video coach or something like that prior to getting the head coaching job in Pensacola. He was a video coach, I want to say, in Fort Wayne or something like that. So he knew how to like dissect the game, something like that, right? So it was just a different mindset. And we had Brent there, we had Salvis, we had Raven, we had a lot of good players on that team. I remember I lived, it's different living now. They live in, I think, condos or something, but we had like 3 houses on the beach, right? So I mean,
can't beat that.
No, we lived at the Pineapple. We called it the Pineapple House, and just the parties that we had there, and Brent was at another place, and I remember he had this massive king size bed. His ensuite had a jacuzzi, and you would throw a football from the jacuzzi to his bed. It was just like, oh my God, that house got caught on fire after we brought in one of our buddies. He said he was going to watch. He said he was going to watch the burgers while they cooked on the grill, and he went and took a nap. And then the tiki hut got caught on fire, and then the windows blew out, and we're just like, "What the hell's going on?" Yeah, it was crazy. Yep, I remember that. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but no, at the end of the day, I think we only lost to Huntsville once, and I think that time I want to say Glenn DeTulio. I don't know. I think he was the coach or assist. I don't think he was playing then. But I think that was his first year out, but they had a good team too. But we beat them. And I just remember after that, taking the cup to, I think it was Captain Funds, and just having the time of our lives. Right. So I was, and then a couple of days later, I had to leave because I was running girls tryouts, and it started like 3 days later. So I had to drive back, from Florida to Canada. It was a process, right? Because I was under like but no, we definitely, that was an incredible team. And a lot of those players, I think after that year, they might have stuck around for 1 or 2 more years. There's actually, I think, only one more player that's still playing. I think he's over in England, but other than that, everyone's done. So,
well, I mean, that goes to show too how impressive it is that you're still playing then, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Or how crazy you are, one or the other,
Yes, people say crazy, but okay.
yeah. I just call it life.
Yeah, exactly.
So then after that season, you went back to Mississippi to another team that doesn't exist anymore, and you spent some of the season there, and then that's when you got your first call to the ECHL with Evansville. Is that correct, or did I miss one in there somewhere before that?
So that year was the Mississippi Surge, and I was there all year. Yeah. The following year, Brent was like, "Hey, do you want to come with me to Watertown?" And I was like, "Sure." So then I went there, and then I got called up to Evansville, and then I stuck there. Then the following year, I was there. I was injured for a bit of that season, so I think I only played like 35 games. And then the following year, Brent was like, "Hey, do you want to stay in Evansville?" type thing. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll go with you, sure." So I stayed there for a little bit and bounced around a little bit, up, down. And then, so I've played in Evansville for a couple years under a couple different coaches and whatnot in different leagues because it was the coast at the time. Yeah. I mean, they have a wicked rink and whatnot. Great setup there. The city might not be as fun as Knoxville, but no, they have a good rink. And so that was the following year.
Yeah, I got it. So again, Evansville Icemen, another team. Do you just break teams when you leave them? Is that what happens?
I think that's it. We go through a budget. I don't know. I don't even ask for a lot, but second year, the owner comes in and says, "Hey, this was in March or something." They're like, "Hey, we're folding after this year." And I remember guys couldn't even get sticks, and guys had to go. They were going to like play it against sports, and this is when we were with Ottawa, so we were still affiliated with an NHL team, but guys were like trying to go to like play it against sports to get sticks, and it was crazy, right? So, oh god, so but then they moved to Jacksonville, basically. Jackson. Yeah. So
I see.
Yeah.
I see. And then the Thunderbolts followed them right in, and you were there for that. And so you didn't wreck that. You didn't wreck that team. They still exist.
They still exist. And the good thing about that is they just got their new bus painted and all that, and I'm on their bus. So every time I see them, I'm like, "Hey guys, I'm on your bus."
That's awesome. Oh, that's great.
I haven't been there for 5 years, but hey, I'm on your bus.
Oh, that's really good. I mean, that's definitely got to be fun to talk about when you're playing them on the ice.
Oh my God. That's guys. They can't, you don't say anything. I'm on your bus. Like,
that's great. Oh, wow. That's awesome. I'm going to have to keep an eye out for that bus whenever it rolls down here to
look
Birmingham.
at it. Yep. It says Evansville. And then there's me skating down the ice.
That's great. That's great. So tell me about the difference between playing in the ECHL and the SPHL was to you back then. It seems like it almost like when the SPHL first started and it was smaller, it almost seemed like in the ECHL and the talent level was almost equal. I know it was still a little bit down, but to me, in my mind, watching those leagues then, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So what I noticed is what I always thought the biggest difference was I always find the depth is really like the first and third lines, like they play like better, let's say, right?
I gotcha.
So in the first lines, a lot of those guys are on deals, right? So they generally might be going a little, they're really trying to get that call up and whatnot. So they're going a little harder and they have the skill and all that. So, everything's just a little bit different and better. Not a lot though. Right. No. So, and I mean, I'm not by any means, anyone that knows me, I am not a fast skater by any means. I never try to be. I'll never say I am, right? But, I was able to get by, and, I think I was first on the team in points in Atlanta or something like that. And it's not because I'm fast, or it's not because I'm strong, like a wicked shot. It's just, I guess I just am, smarter than you. Work as hard as you want, but I'll outsmart you. But, so I just find like a lot of guys can skate really well there. There's some big boys, like the heavyweights. There's some tough kids there. And everyone has, like, a lot of people know their role, right? So I find if you know your role, you're going to be able to be successful, not only in hockey, but in anything that you do, right? Don't think,
Right.
If you're, a goalie's not going to go try and score, right? They know they're a goalie, right? But sometimes it's, maybe, a third line grinder, which there's nothing wrong with that. You need those energy guys, but they sometimes feel that they're skilled guys. And it's like, listen, like, you're going to get, your goals or points, now and then, but don't feel that you're that type of, we need you to stay a grinder. Like, we don't need you to be toe dragging around the ice, right? Yeah. We have people. So I feel there, a lot of people know their roles, the depth, everyone knows how to play. Just all around, the rink and outside the rink, it's just a little more professional. But I think it's, the SP, I think they do a great job in regards of how many games you're allowed to play. In American League games, you're allowed to bring a player in. Like, you can't bring a guy that, is playing the NHL, right? It's a good stepping stone for guys that want to move up, whether you want to move up or not, right? If you don't want to move up, no problem. You're going to have a great time here. But if you do, enjoy it while you're here, learn from the coaches, and, they'll move you up, and, hopefully the jump isn't too big.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. So you talked about Atlanta. That was your last year in the ECHL, and you did have a good year. You were 10 points shy of a point per game player. But after that, you went and played in Sweden. What was up with that?
So that year, they after Atlanta, they brought me back to come back the following year, and they tried to pull some shady stuff in regards, like, I failed my physical, so I needed surgery. But they were trying to get me to be like, hey, we won't tell teams that you're injured, so why don't you just go play somewhere else? And I'm like, well, if I'm not cleared by the doctors here, I'm not going to get cleared elsewhere, right? So they just didn't want to. So, I mean, they were just trying to be scummy in that sense. So, so I ended up getting surgery, and then, I had a couple, decent offers to go overseas, and it's like, hey, this is the time before, I have kids and whatnot. I mean, let's try and enjoy it now. So, I went over to Sweden, and, I loved it. I mean, in the sense that it was different. Like, I didn't want to go somewhere where it was the same style, like England, for example. Like, I had an England offer, I think a Norway and a Sweden. And my buddy, who was the agent at the time, said, I think Sweden will be the best, like, for you type thing. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go there. So I went there, and, it was dark 20 hours a day, which was, it doesn't bother me though. I mean, it's different, right? That's what you go for. You don't go for it to be the same.
Exactly.
So, you go to, life experiences, and I had a great time. They treated me very well there. And I would have gone back in a heartbeat, but I mean, the end of the year, that's when COVID started.
Yeah.
So I remember flying out of the Denmark airport, and they announced, okay, the Denmark airport is now closed due to COVID. So it's like, we were literally flying, and I'm like, well, thank God that we got out, because they literally announced it over the airline or on the plane. Yeah, the Denmark airport's now closed. And it's like, oh, thank God. So, and we were supposed to wait for 2 more weeks to fly out. But I told our GM at the time, I'm like, hey, like, no, like, I'm not going to sit around for 2 weeks in case something like this happens.
Right.
And so they flew us out, and luckily that, we're able to get out. But yeah, I would have gone back, but, the following 2 years or a year, was kind of, what's going to happen? And
just a broken year.
It was a broken year. Yeah. So, and that's when Brent basically called me back and said, hey, do you want to just come with me? And I'm like, yeah, I'll come with you. And that was Watertown. And, that year didn't work out just due to some business stuff when I was there. But again, like, Brent gives me a call, he trusts me, I trust him, I'll go. So
Yeah, that's all. That's an awesome relationship to have with well, fellow player and then a coach. You know, that's always good. So, tell me a little bit about Sweden, though, man. I mean, like, what did you get to do outside of the game there? I mean, what was the nightlife out of the game? You know, middle of the week or however it goes.
Middle of the week. I mean, you know, I have a couple people, different people would say, you know, oh, you're gonna have a great time, you're gonna live it up, you're gonna party, and I'm like, awesome. And then a couple other people will be like, oh, you know, they don't really do anything. So I didn't really know what to expect. So when I got there, we're in a small city, you know, about 4 hours from Stockholm. So, you know, smaller city, but there's still going to be like a small little nightlife in the sense, you know, a couple bars here and there, restaurants and stuff like that. But everyone spoke English pretty much, right? They're taught that right from day one. So that was easy to get by. But I mean, going out there, I mean, not on the team, at least the team I was on, not many guys went out. So there's only like me and a couple other guys that would go out. You know, after a game, I'm used to, you know, win or lose, I'm going to grab, you know, a couple beers and, you know, drink them on the bus, right? Whether win or lose, you know, win or lose, you booze. So now, you know, at the same time, I'm a new guy coming in, so I'm not like getting hammered on the bus by any means, but you know, just to relax a little bit after a loss. And a couple guys are like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm grabbing a beer. And he's like, oh, we don't do that. And I literally said, well, I don't know. I was like 29, or I was like, listen, I'm 29 or 30 years old. Like if I'm going to have I'm going to have a beer. Like I'm not. And, you know, I remember, you know, the coaches in there would like glare at me or something like that. Like, guys, like I'm having two. Like you can relax a little bit, right? So
I'm not burning down the city. We did that in Pensacola.
Exactly. I'm on a bus traveling, you know, to nowhere, and you know, I'm gonna, you know, but no, the players were awesome there, very nice. So, you know, I've helped them, you know, a couple of years ago. They asked me for players that they thought would help their team, and I gave them my honest opinion. So, and they actually just moved up to Allsvenskan last year, so they moved up a level. So good for them. But yeah, I mean, I went to Stockholm. That was awesome. We were only there for a few hours, but I would highly recommend going over there for anyone that, you know, is a little more adventurous. I went to like a moose farm. You know, I tried to do dog sled. I didn't do dog sledding, but I tried to. It was booked or something like that, or fully sold out, but I wanted to do dog sledding. But very outdoorsy things to do there, right? So if, you know, you like you know, to be outdoors, that's where you should go.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to book a trip now.
Absolutely. It's expensive though. It's very expensive.
Is it? All right. Yeah. Never mind. I'm not booking a trip.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And that was it. We got a free trip to Sweden, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, people save up their entire life savings to go on a trip to Europe. And, you know, we were planning on going, you know, country hopping to Italy and all this. But when COVID, the travel agents were like, hey, you got to get home. It's like, okay, well,
yeah,
we'll get
COVID
home.
Ruined it. Damn
it. Yeah, exactly.
But so after that season, you came back. You played for Huntsville in the 2021, and then before, I know we're kind of pushing. I've been holding you for a while, so I want to talk about your season last year. I mean, 117 points. I mean, what the heck? I mean, it's almost like you were playing, you know, men's league, and you're an NHL player. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of points.
I played with some really good, you know, players, and, you know, we had a stronger team. Clarkie recruits guys very well, right? So, I mean, some coaches don't recruit as well as they can, you know, and at lower levels, they might not put in 100% effort, you know, compared to higher levels. But I mean, no matter where he's at, he's going to want to win, right? So, yeah, I mean, I had a, you know, yeah, it was a good year. And basically just kept shooting, right? Like I'll shoot 10 pucks in a game. Like I'll get 10 shots on net, you know, whether, they're grade A or not. I mean, you're not going to score without shooting, and
listening to the fans. That's what you were doing.
Exactly. I was listening to the fans, right? So,
you were doing.
and every time I've tried like a backdoor pass and it doesn't go in, and I always think to myself, that's why I got to shoot it. And I'm like, that's why, right? So,
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like other way around, if I'm backdoor and the guy shoots it and doesn't, I'm, in my mind, come on, man, like I was right there, right? But if you're in the slot or anywhere around the house, like, and you don't shoot it, you're not thinking right. So eventually someone has to shoot it.
Yeah. Somebody.
And so, but yeah, I had a good year there. Playoffs. I mean, I think we lost our first game in playoffs, and it just kind of gave us a headache. We were like, wait, what's going on? Like, why? Like, we only lost, like, I don't know, 7-8 games, I don't know, something like that all year, 9 games. And it's like, why all of a sudden now are we losing? Anything can happen in playoffs. I get that. But I think we were just too like cocky and not a good cocky going in. And we kind of got, whoa, okay, we can still lose. And so then we won the next 2. And then against Columbus, we lost the first one. And we got to choose whether it's like a best of 3 or 5 or something 7, and we chose best of 3 in case someone gets injured or goalie gets injured, you're kind of screwed, right? So I remember the first game against Columbus, it was against Jagger Williamson, who's on our team now. I mean, I think I got a breakaway and scored in the first like 30 seconds, and it was like, oh, here we go, and they came back and won that game, and we're just like, oh no. And then we beat them pretty well the second game, and then the third game, it was, I think, the second or third OT that Lane King, who's on Columbus now, put in the OT winner, and we won it. So I mean, it was that made it all worth it, right? It would have been unfortunate if we didn't win it, but we won it, so that was awesome.
Yeah, the legs had to have been rough in 3 OTs.
Now if I feel like if I was to do that now, I think I would have had to sit in OT. I would have to take a full period off to recover. But then you're just going on like adrenaline, and you're just trying to like you're doing whatever you can, right? So it might be sloppy, but you're trying to do whatever you can.
That's great. Those are always the best ways to win championships as a person from the seats watching.
100%. You don't want a 6-0 game. You want like you 100%, right? So it was totally it was a great way to go, finish the season. And a lot of guys retired after that year. I think we had 3 older guys retire at least, and I know some younger guys also stopped playing. So I mean, it was a great way to go out for them.
Yeah, and you didn't ruin that team. They still exist this year.
They still exist. Exactly. Exactly.
So last thing I got, man, you got anything, what do you do outside of hockey? What do you got going on when you're not playing the game?
I own a company called CTG Hockey. You can ctghockey.com or CTG Hockey on Instagram. And basically I have different on and off ice training programs for different levels of kids. And right now I have, a trainer back home working for me who's training players off the ice in a gym. So they book through me, and then I set them up. So I think I have 2 groups of, I don't know, there's probably 10 kids going a night. So, I mean, you gotta, if you're not making money, you're losing money, right? So, I mean, you always got to find a way to make money. You never know when you're going to need it down the road, right? So exactly. I do that, and I do Zoom training now for whether it is hockey specific or the general, session, like an adult, just trying to, get in shape or something like that. I do that. I got one shortly. So, it's something that I started a few years ago, and it's building up. Now I don't see myself doing this in the long run, but, whether I can build it up and then maybe sell it off to someone, I mean, have someone else run it. I mean, that'd be ideal. Right. So, yeah.
Well, that's cool. CTG Hockey. So everybody, that's your homework. You got to go look that up.
Go look it up. So. Go add me on Instagram. Hit me up. And if you have any questions, I'll reply right away.
There you go. All right, man. Well, that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you taking some time. I know you're a busy guy, and I wish you the best of luck. I wish the Ice Bears the best of luck the rest of the season, and maybe I'll get to see another goaltender showdown here this week in Birmingham.
Absolutely. I'll see you then. Thanks a lot, James.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right. Peace.
All right, there you have it. Justin MacDonald. So he's been around the league for a while, and as you see, and I joked around obviously with the teams that don't exist anymore, but he played for 3 teams that are no longer in the league, and 1 team that has a different name now in the Marksmen. And then he also played for an ECHL team. So no, he's just been successful everywhere he went. And I know there was a lot of question coming into this season whenever he got brought along, and everybody's like, why are they bringing a guy from the Fed in? Oh, great. Yeah, he's a captain. He must be the coach's buddy. And I mean, obviously you could tell him and the coach have a great relationship, but if you look at his performance on the ice, it's much deserved, the veteran leadership that he has. And just the production out there, he's already got 12 points in 6 games. So, I mean, that's, you look at the 117 he put out last year, and he's on a pace to do that right now. He's actually on a pace if he keeps this up to score 112 points. Will that happen? I don't know. It'd be cool to see. It's been a long time since we've seen a 100-point scorer in the SPHL, so it'd be cool to see again. But anyways, that's it on that. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did, and we'll kind of jump into some things. There's a lot of news kind of around this last week. I'm not going to break down each team's weekend, like I normally do, because I just feel like a lot of you guys kind of already seen a lot of that. So I'm going to hit on some key points. So one thing I do want to start out with is the player of the week was Benson, Macon's goaltender. In his first, it was his first start. Sorry. Yeah. Josh Benson. Sorry. I apologize, listeners or listener, but I didn't want to screw up his first name. But yeah, he had a shutout, gave Macon their first win, and it was against Fayetteville, 4-0 shutout. He stopped everything came his way. Obviously, 30 shots, had a great weekend, and well deserving of that. There was some other people. If we look at the SPHL, Hayden Stewart of Birmingham, he was a nominee. Zane Steves of Evansville, Pulowski of Fayetteville. I mean, Latinovich of Huntsville. It was all about goalies. If you can see the trend here, there's a lot of goalies are putting on some shows. And I think that is exactly why this league is so tight this year, is because these goalies are stealing games. And I mean, Macon came into that 0-5 in that game, or, hadn't won a game yet. And Benson stole that game for him. And, Christian Stead stole that game for Knoxville a week ago or 2 weeks ago, however long ago that was. And you just see this. You see these goaltenders; they're performing very, very well, and they can just yank a game right out from under somebody, whether they should be winning it or not. But yeah. So kind of we'll do a quick rundown though. Huntsville started their week last week and on Thursday against Pensacola, and they won that one 4-1. And then the Friday night slate of games was all over the place. Fayetteville got the best of Roanoke. Knoxville edged out Macon. That's the thing. You don't count Macon, that one-win team. And Knoxville's been playing well this whole season, and Macon was right in there, just right there on the edge. And that's what I'm saying. This league is close this year. It's to start the season out, there is no clear number 1 and no clear number 11. But I don't know. Some people might argue with me and say that Macon or Vermilion County is, but they've showed signs that they're a good team. I mean, it's just a matter of getting a couple of bounces going your way. But yeah, and then Evansville took Pensacola. They got them 3-2, and then Birmingham and Huntsville. That was a heck of a game. Obviously, I'm going to have more insight into that one because I was there. But it was a great game. Another awesome goaltending performance by Latinovich for Huntsville, to be honest with you, in that loss. I mean, I feel like he probably stole that first matchup against Birmingham away from the Bulls, and he almost did it again. Just wasn't enough firepower from Huntsville in that one. Peoria got Quad City 1-0, a real tight game there. And then we switch over to Saturday, and Macon, that was their shutout over Fayetteville. What's going on in Fayetteville? Everybody's losing their mind about that. I keep seeing that. We'll get to that in just a minute. That's one of the key topics I wanted to get on. But I just kind of want to touch a little bit on these other games. So Roanoke played. They beat Knoxville also 3-1. So Roanoke, that prediction sure to go wrong is definitely wrong. Knoxville will not go undefeated against the Rail Yard Dogs this season. But But hey, you got to put something whenever you're writing things out. You got to grab attention there. But Roanoke did some work there, and then Evansville got the best of Pensacola. Quad City got Peoria, so they're splitting that. That's a good series this year. These two teams are at each other's throats. I love it. And then Fayetteville and Roanoke, and that's the game that closed out the weekend, and it ended in a bit of an unorthodox fashion, I would say. So the ice was bad. It was bad, and there was reports, kind of in the second period that the ice wasn't in the best of shape, and they kept on playing, and then they decided that, it's not good. There was no third period in this game, and they ended up finishing this game out in a shootout. And let me tell you, this was an awesome game to start out with. It was 2-0 Roanoke, and then Fayetteville ties it up, and you're set up for a good third period, but the ice didn't want to play nice. And Fayetteville ended up winning that one in the shootout. So both teams ended with a point in the standings, one with 2, one with 1. But obviously, I don't have to teach point standings to you listeners. You're well-educated hockey fans. But the big deal was there's been a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people talking about the ice and how bad it was, and you're talking trash and this and that, and everybody's they're calling out Fayetteville about it, and I hate to blame, or I hate to see a team get blamed for stuff like that. It happened all last year to the Vermilion County Bobcats, and then as you've seen last week, I put something out there on Twitter and threw it out on a couple socials about how the Bobcats also had to cancel practice because of just unsafe ice conditions. They got holes against the board. That's how you're going to break your ankle. So I see people saying, well, that's how, that's minor league hockey. No, I mean, that's unsafe. These guys aren't making millions and millions of dollars, and so they're definitely not going to want to go out there and break their ankle. And pro players don't want to go out there and play on ice like that. So and then they're pros. So I mean, it's just. But back to Knoxville, that was an arena problem, but it's been very warm in the South, and I feel like you guys are all kind of aware of that, being fans of the Southern Professional Hockey League. It's been pretty warm, and I guess that's just. That may be what got the best of Fayetteville. I don't know. Hopefully they can get that addressed before the next home game for the Marksmen, which they should. I mean, that's a good crew they got working that Coliseum and whatnot. And so that's really all there is to that. But don't blame the Marksmen. They didn't do it. They didn't go out there and melt the ice. They weren't out there, with torches heating the ice up and trying to turn it into a pond by any means. And kind of going back into Vermilion County, you're kind of seeing it's more or less an arena issue. It's not the Bobcats. They don't operate the ice. They don't operate the arena. They don't run the Zambonis. They have nobody on that team that's playing hockey knows how to work the ice plant, knows how to work any of that. I don't know how to do any of that. But there sure seems to be a lot of people out there that want to place blame on franchises, and I'm not talking bad about arenas. I know that the Bobcats in the arena there, the David S. Palmer Arena, they got some lawsuits going on, dating back to just all kinds of things that are there. I have an opinion on it. I do feel like the arena management is failing them, but I've also seen that the arena management has been put into change. There's been replacement on board members, and I don't have an answer on what came of that emergency motion that got filed, the recent one that kind of regards to the last issue there. But as far as I know, the Bobcats are practicing. From the people I've talked to out there in Bobcat country, they're getting some practice in. I don't know if it's on that ice or if they found another rink to just get some practice reps in, but they're playing this week. They had last week off, so fortunate for them, when all those ice issues came about, they were able to have the week off, and so they didn't have to deal with the way the season opened last year for them. But hopefully the arena. The city runs that arena to the best of my knowledge. I assume that's the way it works since there's a board on it, but I might be full of crap on that. But hopefully the city and the team can come to an agreement there, and we can see good things happen moving forward, because the Bobcats, they look better this year. And I'm going to be interested to see how they look coming into this week after having that week off. And we'll see. I mean, I know they got they're 1-3-1, and I don't know if you can hear all that vibration on the table from picking up on my mic, but I apologize. Somebody's blowing my phone up because I think it's funny to do that to me while they know I'm recording a podcast. But anyways, but the Bobcats, they're back to them. They're looking good this year. They've already they've already got their win. They got that out of the way this season. It's a new look team. I just don't feel like it's the same team. As long as things can go smooth on the ice, literally and figuratively, I don't think they got anything to worry about. But like I said, the way that the standings are right now, you got Evansville's played 8 games. They've played the most games in the league. They have 9 points. They're sitting in second place. Quad City has played 7 games, and they got 10 points. But separating down to 5th place is 8 points. With Knoxville and Huntsville both got 8, and then you drop down, there's 6 points. I mean, there's not a lot of spread here. One weekend can flip these standings like crazy, but similar to last year, Quad City is off to a hot start, and they're looking good. They've only got 2 losses, and there's a lot of teams with only 2 losses. Roanoke's 4-2, Huntsville's 4-2, Knoxville's 4-2, Birmingham's 3-2. So there's a lot of teams with only 2 losses on the season, and the Bulls they've only played 5 games so far. Those other teams I mentioned have played 6, with the exception of Roanoke, who has played 7. They got that 1 point from the shootout loss that we just referred to. But there's, like I said, not a lot of separation. I know there's a few things. I feel like there's a couple teams out there that aren't playing up to expectations, preseason expectations. And I feel like that's Fayetteville. I feel like Fayetteville has just not quite found their stride. They're sitting at 3-3, but their Twitter game's still awesome. And every time they beat the Rail Yard Dogs, they just keep adding to that. So I love that rivalry. That's just great. I don't even know if the rivalry on the ice is as good as the rivalry on Twitter. But anyways, that's great. We need to get Quad City and Peoria's Twitter to start feuding the same way. Birmingham and Huntsville. It seems like Huntsville's the only one that's really coming at Birmingham on the Twitter wars. But I strongly suggest you guys, if you have Twitter, follow every team in this league, because you never know what's going to happen when one of their posts. And plus, you get all that good information from them. But it's great. But that team, and then I kind of feel, I hate to say it, I know a lot of people might hate me and might call me an idiot, but I feel like Huntsville's not playing up to expectations. Granted, 4-2, but they haven't looked the greatest in the games that I've watched them play. And even that night when they played Pensacola on Thursday night, I feel like they came out 4-1. Yeah, on paper that looks like a dominant one, but I feel like if they were the Huntsville that we had seen from last year, that game wouldn't have been that close. I don't know, just on the ice. We're not just got to eliminate the scoreboard when you hear me saying this crazy stuff. I feel like maybe but they're sitting in a good position, right? So there's nothing there to really worry about. Pensacola is kind of another one of those teams that I feel like is underachieving at the moment, but they're sitting at 2-4. They're not in the best of shape at the moment, but we're only a few weeks into the season, so we're not writing anybody off at this. If Macon can make their goaltending stick, they could definitely pop up to number 1 in the standings. They're 8 points behind right now. And so not too bad. This isn't, if you're gonna start off slow, that's not as bad as finishing slow, obviously, but this is the time to kind of get going and feel things. And then these teams are starting to figure things out. And like I said, it's fun. It's been fun to watch this season so far. So let me jump into what we got coming up this weekend. We got a lot of hockey this weekend. We got a couple of Thursday night games. Quad City is welcoming in the Bobcats, who are freshly rested after no game. They had a bye week, which I didn't know was a thing in hockey, but apparently it is. But hey, what am I talking about? There was a bunch of teams that had a bye season. So no, that's too soon. You can't make that joke. And nobody's laughing. But so Vermilion County's, they're going into Quad City. Another one Thursday night, Fayetteville coming into Birmingham. That should be a good matchup. Yeah, I mean it's in Birmingham, so you're not going to have to hear about the ice issues in Fayetteville. The rink in Birmingham, I've seen it firsthand. It's very well maintained, and it's a much smaller facility, so it's cold in there. It's cold in there, so ice melting is it would be a catastrophic situation, I believe. They keep that rink open to the public all year round, and that's the extent I know of that rink. I don't, like I said, I don't know how to take care of ice. I don't know anything about it. I just know that hot melts cold, and not hot melts cold, but hot melts ice. Yeah, screwed that one up. Oh well. There's always next week for me to have a good one. But anyways, after that, going into Friday night, Roanoke is welcoming in the Mayhem, and Evansville welcomes Huntsville into town. Birmingham stays at home, and we'll see Knoxville for the second time. And I'm excited for that game. In my opinion, and you can call me a homer or whatever, because, I cover Birmingham, blah, 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 but I'm not a homer in this one. I'm just telling you, the last game between these two teams was freaking phenomenal. And I am very much so looking forward to seeing these two teams face off again and see how it comes out. I mean, I'm just telling you, Christian Stead put on a show that time, and I'm excited to see. I hope Stead gets the nod in net again, and they run back at it. And I just love to see those two teams go at it. Maybe that can turn into something this year. Maybe I'm trying to turn it into something. You never know. But if I keep talking about it enough, like everything else you hear on news and whatnot, eventually it becomes something. So I'm going to force it on you. No, I'm not. But we'll move on. Again, Pensacola is got Fayetteville. And they're playing at the Bay Center in Pensacola. So that's two teams that I said that are struggling. So it'll be a good game for those two teams to try to make me eat crow next week. And then Quad City, again, they're playing at home against the Bobcats. And then we got a Sunday game, Pensacola, Fayetteville. So they're playing each other twice. Fayetteville has got 3 games on the week. So that's going to be an exciting one. And then we got Quad City and Evansville, and I believe that is a Monday game. Let me look. I'm really bad at this. You guys know that. No, that's a Sunday game. I'm an idiot. Fayetteville and Pensacola is the Saturday game. The Sunday game is Quad City and Evansville. We've had a lot of Sunday hockey this year. That's exciting. I like it. But yeah, that's really all I got for you guys. I don't want to keep sitting here talking about a bunch of nonsense, but I really appreciate you guys listening. I hope you guys enjoy the guests that I bring on every week. And I know that's probably the only reason you listen, and I'm perfectly okay with that. At least I got you listening, and we're getting some word out about these players, this league, the league that you guys all are so passionate about, and the league that I have become so passionate about. It's good. It's good hockey to start this year. But I don't know what else I have to say to you guys. So I guess I'm going to leave it at that. And I will talk to you guys next week. So until next time.
You've been listening to the Inside the SPHL podcast. Got a topic you'd like discussed? Follow James on Twitter at FPHBulls. For the latest news on the SPHL and the rest of minor league hockey, download the Field Pass Hockey app, now available in the Apple and Android app stores.